and orderly stack your linen, your paper, your medical consumables, packaging, furniture and your furnishing. Time to do them. Don't store them under stairs. People put them under stairs. I went to a home, the manager said to me, is it alright to put a push bike under the stairs in a care home? I thought, well, it's a metal push bike, it's not really a fire hazard. I won't worry too much about it, but, monitor it. Let them put the bike there. What happened next week? They were putting paint, boxes, tins. Don't do that. Don't do that. In premises that provide care, the predictable nature of the day-to-day activities should allow systems to be developed for dealing with waste, laundry and other combustible materials. Such waste should not be allowed to accumulate inside the building, particularly in the escape routes, like I say, while awaiting for collection. In higher risk areas, you may need to make sure arrangements are in place for safe close down. For example, checking all appliances are turned off and your combustible waste has been removed, making it more formal. That's in your high risk areas. Have you got any oxygen supplies in the workplace? Any cylinders, oxygen? If you have, make sure it's identified in a well-ventilated area. Be very careful with oxygen. Oxygen, fire, what happens? Bang! Have you got any of your residents with oxygen therapy? A manager, care premise, turned up to it was care at the home, turned up there. There's a guy having oxygen therapy while he's having a fag. What's happening there then? First of all, what's the point? And the second thing is, if in a little match with that oxygen there, what would have happened? Bang! So be very careful with oxygen cylinders. Store them correctly, well-ventilated areas, marked up that they're there. Yeah, ideally, if you can get them out of the workplace, get them out and make sure no one smokes while you're on oxygen therapy. What other risk areas have you got? Laundry rooms. Laundry rooms. Laundries in both large and small care premises always remain a high-risk area. They are often located in the basement, which means that any fire can affect the escape routes above, because fire rises, obviously. What else you've got? Do you defluff your laundry tumble dryers? You know these big tumble dryers, do you defluff them? How often? Every time you use them, you should defluff them. They build up quite quickly. They can catch fire. So do it regularly, make it formal. Washing and drying machines should not be loaded in excess of the manufacturer's recommendations. So don't just stuff everything in. Look at the recommendations, don't overload them. Exhaust filters should be cleaned and maintenance should be carried out regularly. Again, it'll all be specified on the documentation. Items such as cleaning cloths and mop heads should not be placed in dryers, as they can spontaneously combust if there's any chemical residue on them. So don't just shove your mop heads in there, because they can actually spontaneously combust. Ironing equipment should be correctly used and maintained. The laundry area should not be used for storing miscellaneous combustible material. In other words, the laundry room's for laundry, nothing else, okay? The use of laundry chutes in larger premises also provides a ready path for smoke to travel from the fire to anywhere throughout the residential premises. So be careful with your thingies. Any smoke on fire dampers within the laundry chute should be automatically operated following activation of the fire detection system. What you'll have is a damper in the chute, and when the alarm goes off, the damper will shut, yeah? So it basically seals it off, and someone's got to make sure that's actually working within the chute. Now, what other hazards have you got in? Well, do you know, some examples here. A student in a flat in London, he only had one socket. One socket, they had 5 appliances. What would you do? Yep. You get an extension cable? No. This was an engineering student. He got 2 6-inch nails. He soldered 5 appliances to 2 6-inch nails and stuffed them in the socket. That's what he did. There's no earth. Deep fat fryers. What's the difference between a deep fat fryer and a chip pan? What's the difference? Deep fat fryer's got a lid and a thermostat. In a student accommodation, they've realised that if they banned chip pans, the students will still bring them in. So what the thought was, let's take the risk away, give them deep fat fryers. They put deep fat fryers in all the students' accommodations to make it safer than a chip pan. What happened? A student got an electric deep fat fryer, put it on a gas ring and turned it on. He had a plug on it. He set fire to it. That's a student. That's the future. That's the future. The next high-risk area is kitchens. In larger premises with extensive catering facilities, the cooking range should have some form of automatic fire suppression system. It's like an Ansel system. And what happens is they'll have a heat detector in there. If it gets to a certain temperature, it discharges and it puts the whole system out. So in large kitchens, that's what you should have. Now, in smaller premises, you might have a suitable fire extinguisher and a fire blanket. They should always be provided. And don't forget, we're going to come on to it later, you should have a Class F extinguisher. There's a special extinguisher designed for deep fat fryers. So don't just rely on a fire blanket. If there's a Class F risk, a Class F extinguisher. All deep fat fryer cooking equipment should have a thermostatic temperature control and should never be left unattended. That is critical. When you're cooking, do not leave them. Do not leave them unattended. That's a key thing. Now, in some premises, such as a small children's home, the use of open-top chip pans should be discouraged or prohibited, because there's approximately 8,000 chip pan fires every year. Now, that's a lot of chip pan fires. For whatever reason, the thermostat don't work, or if it's just a normal chip pan, but they do catch fire, especially, for example, when they're empty, when they've got nothing in, it appears it's not, but you turn it on, any residues could catch fire. Make sure you place pans safely on cookers. Do not leave handles sticking out. What do people do? They catch them. Dogs jump up, grab them. If you're wearing loose clothing, take care when leaning over lit gas rings. Do you know how many people set themselves on fire by leaning over a lit gas ring? Yeah, they're cooking, they lean over, they smell burning. Who's that? It's me. Be careful, wear something tight fitting. Switch appliances off at the socket when not in use. If you're not using them, switch them off. Now, many fires do occur in the kitchen. What else can you do to make it less likely to catch fire? Keep an eye on the cooker. How many times do you put pans on, get on the phone to your friend, you haven't chatted to for 10 minutes, you chat away for half an hour, you say, I better go, I've left a pan on. Have you done that? Don't. Especially not when you're in your workplace. Never leave them unattended. Never leave chip pans, frying pans or grill pans unattended. That's the key one. Never leave any of them unattended, ever. If called away, you turn the cooker off. You could turn the cooker off. Remove pans from heat and place to one side. And before frying food, if you get some out of a freezer, give it a wipe first. Why? If you throw it straight and it's got any moisture in it, what'll happen? It spits. Never put food in a pan if it all begins to give off smoke. Why? Why don't you do that? It's too hot. You've let it get too hot. Let it cool down. The classic one's the wok. Have you got a wok? Wok at work, yeah? Wok? At home, have you got one? Have you noticed when you're woking, you've got to drink wine? Have you noticed that? When you're woking, people get woks out, there's a flame coming out the top, they're going, whoa, look at that, look at that. That's not supposed to happen. That's a fire. Just because on the TV it does it. Do you know why it does that with woks? You got the wrong oil. You need a special oil in there, it's called wok oil. Well, it's a nut oil really, but you can use special oil. Don't just put sunflower oil in. Use the normal oil. If a pan gets too hot, turn it off, leave it to cool, and, like I say, don't use chip pans, use deep fat fryers, and some fire brigades are actually giving them free. Some fire brigades are giving deep fat fryers free of charge. Don't turn up today and say, Dave sent me. Yeah, what range have you got? It's not Argos. They will do it, but they're doing it in certain areas. They're targeting certain areas where people having predominantly a load of chip pan fires. And don't overfill a chip pan, but it can't be more than a third full. Now, does that look all right on the hob? Should you do that? No, don't do that. People do that a lot. Tea towels catching fire. What other risks have you got in the kitchen? Extractor ducting. Grease traps and filters, they should be regularly cleaned and maintained. Isolation switches for the gas and the electricity supplies and the isolation switches for any extractor fans should be located to an exit, nearer to an exit. Why? Well, you want to knock it off as you're leaving. That's the kitchen staff's job. If there's a fire as they're leaving, isolate. Don't put the isolator behind the cooker. Make sure the isolators are on the nearer the exit. Now, can you see any hazards in this kitchen? Now, if you can't, I do need to have a chat with you on your own, so give me a ring if you can't spot any hazards in this picture. What's wrong with that then? Let's go through. Can you see on there? First of all, plug half in and half out, block adapter. He's chopping the wires. The pans are overflowing. The lobster's had enough. He wants out of there. Wires on the heat source. The frying pan overflowing. The paper's in the bin. What sort of paper's that in the bin? What sort of paper do you think that is? On my courses, people say to me, the toilet roll's in the bin. It's kitchen roll. It's a kitchen. And you shouldn't block the extractor off. And at the end of the day, he's stressed. So there's all the hazards in there. What about hazards in there? Can you see any hazards? That's what happens after 3 years of marriage. Now, can you see any hazards in that there? No? Iron on the quilt, yeah? Plugged into the light. They used to do that in the old days. My mum did that. When I was 5 years old, about 23 years ago, she used to do that with the electrics, plugging in the light fitting. Now, what else is there? Block it out, half in and half out all the plugs with loads of plugs on. You've got the fire too close and it's damaged. Bin on fire. You shouldn't smoke in bed.